I upload a beat every day. I haven't taken a break from that in probably 2 years. And even if I travel, even if I go on vacation, I plan around it and I schedule my uploads in advance. So from the outside looking in, I'm not taking breaks. I got my powers back. Thank you, Dame. What's going down? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club. I'm DJ Payne One. I'm joined by Dame Ritter and Erin Knight. And this is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. We're live twice a week on beatstars.live. That's the website. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mondays and Thursdays with our free music business mentorship program. So please don't ever complain that there aren't free resources out there. And we're certainly not the only ones providing those resources. Trust me, we're not. Because if we were the only ones, then yeah, maybe you could complain a little more because they would be scarce, but they're not. There are plenty of people out there doing the same stuff. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling good. It's been a good week. I got 2 free tanks of gas. It's been a good week so far. I'm meeting up with LaRussell today, so looking forward to meeting him in person. He was a gentleman that I had on the MEC not too long ago. He's I believe next up from the Bay Area, doing a lot of things the right way. So looking forward to meeting him in person. And got a lot of other meetings lined up this week, so I'm feeling good.
So you're not going to give any context on the gas thing?
Oh yeah. So I was at the gym the other day and this cat wanted to play basketball one-on-one. Ordinarily, I would decline, because he said he wanted to play for a tank of gas. But I felt so disrespected that he was the one to ask me to play a one-on-one because he's not really that good of a basketball player. But I just felt like, okay, if this is the level he sees me on, I got to take this challenge and pick this gas up real quick. But I got to be honest, like it wasn't hard. I was just out of breath. Like playing one-on-one sometimes, like you get way more out of breath than playing an actual game. So I wanted to take a gas. I wanted to do double or nothing. So I picked up 2 tanks of gas. And so yeah, that's how I got free gas. But I definitely got to get, what'd you say, Erin?
That's amazing.
So I definitely got to get in better hoop shape or hang it up. Cause I feel like if I keep playing in the shape that I'm in, I'm probably more prone to injury anyway. So I'm gonna get in better shape after my wedding. So this next month. So yeah, that's the story of the tanks of gas.
How about you, Erin? Who's paying for your gas this week?
Hopefully I can get a sugar daddy. If you guys, any of the guys out there want to pay, or women, whoever, I just want free gas. So I'm not going to do anything in exchange except for maybe tell you about the music industry. But anybody wants to give me free gas, any companies want to be my sugar daddy, that's cool. Sponsor me. That's great. But speaking of getting in shape, that's like, I feel good today because I finally passed a plateau that I've been on for like 3 weeks. And plateaus are so discouraging when you're trying to like get in shape and lose weight. So today I feel good because it was a mental and physical plateau. So I'm doing really good. I'm finally getting my voice back. All to be struggling with allergies, which I've never had, but I got some meds and now I'm feeling better. So I'm doing great.
We need a gas sponsorship. Are gas companies sponsoring artists or music platforms? We need to
Exxon set up at South by Southwest. So Exxon hit us.
Really?
Or was it Shell? Actually, it was Shell. Sorry. Shell, go ahead and hit us. They had a whole activation about like the future of green gas. And it was a lot. They gave me avocado salmon toast. It was amazing. So
were they there for the music portion or the tech? Like it had to be for the tech.
No,
right?
They were the first day of music. So they were
wow.
Yeah, which is, it's the tail end of tech because, some people won't fly out to Monday or Tuesday, but they were my Monday meal, my Monday morning meal. So shout out to Shell. Go ahead and give us gas.
We'll definitely take that. Let me just kick off today's podcast with a bit of a rant. And I hate to go back to NFTs, but it was something that I saw in my feed this morning. This time I'm going to name names because I've mentioned this gentleman before, but I didn't want to really call him out by name. But this time I kind of have to because I think this NFT hype has gotten ridiculous. And I don't like on on social media, how you can play both sides of the fence and how you can just be wrong with no consequences these days. Like even sports commentators or like these people that host these shows in the morning, they just talk the most shit ever. And we don't ever hold them accountable, primarily because it's just about entertainment, but when it comes to artists and hyping artists up, this is their life. Like they are heavily invested in this, and their artists are very easy to take advantage of because a lot of them are super desperate, right? And they've made public declarations at time like, this is what I love, this is what I'm going to do. And when it gets to that point when they're not making the progress that they want to make, they sometimes do desperate things or fall victim to scams because they've made their public declarations and they can't lose now, not in front of everybody. So I think a lot of people take advantage of artists in these situations because they're so desperate to make it in a space where only a few will, right? So this cat has been like the main hype machine of NFTs. And we've always taken kind of a more measured approach to this. Okay, let's really figure this out. Like what are NFTs? How are they going to impact the music industry? And we've never been like all in, like these are the saviors of the music industry. That's never the position that any of us have taken. Not that we speak with one voice. We all have individual opinions at the MEC, but I think we think similarly on this topic, right? With music NFTs, that they'll be here, but let's dial back some of the hype. So after hyping up NFTs for the past year and a half, he's invested in these platforms. He has NFTs, he has crypto. I'm sure that he has a financial interest in all these platforms. Now he posts 20 problems with NFTs today. And a lot of these we've talked about before: accessibility, utility, IP, quality, onboarding, valuation, authenticity, hype, even though he does call himself out as somebody that has participated in it. But it's like, bro, now that's a problem. Like, it's extremely annoying. Another problem, industry experience. We've been talking about that forever. Ownership, distribution, inclusivity, supply. Like, these things are things that we have talked about. And at the end of the day, I just think, we really need to emphasize education. And, like I just said, people need to, I know that there's a lot of emotions involved and you want to make it, but there's a lot of people out there will take advantage of your desperation and your willingness to almost do anything to make it. So we have to just dial back. And I wish that, people would I wish there were consequences for playing both sides, right? Artists are too easy to play with. Fans are too easy to play with. This might seem like a bit of a jump, but like even Joyner Lucas calling out Machine Gun Kelly out of nowhere, like a week ago. I guess Joyner Lucas, was upset that his name was small on the Lollapalooza flyer. He said he thinks he deserves to be much bigger on the flyer. So he just randomly calls out Machine Gun Kelly because he's bigger on the flyer. And it's just, there's no penalties for being wrong. There's no penalties for doing lame stuff. As a matter of fact, you only get a second wave of attention when you apologize for the dumb shit you did or the wrong thing you said. So it's almost encouraged to just jump out the window. Not sure if people understand how I connected those two, but to me, they're very similar and it's just ridiculous at this point. My rant is over.
Well, that's a good list.
A list of things wrong with NFTs?
Yeah, I think it's a great list. I think that's what we should be addressing.
But you can't hype this thing up for 2 years and then dial back and be like, actually, here are all the problems that the MEC has been talking about for a year and a half, but now I'm going to get praise for calling out the problems that he probably knew existed from day one.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, well, you clearly can because he did. And like you said, there aren't any consequences that come along with that level of self-contradiction. But yeah, I mean, at least the list is good. I don't know. I'm trying to see the silver lining here, but I understand your frustration because that is certainly it paints a not so great picture of this person's overall dedication to truth and honesty on their platform.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the post now, but it's like after you have been the beneficiary of so many more followers. And I'm sure it's led to financial gain for sure. So after you've been the beneficiary over the past year and a half, financially, clout wise, now you get additional clout for calling out the problems that everybody in the music industry knew were there from the jump.
I mean, as much as I understand it's frustrating, I want to call it growth, right? Like, you don't think like if he was a hype beast, realized that he probably shouldn't have been hyping it and was like, since I'm an authoritative voice in the scene, let me come back and correct some of this. Do you not feel like it's that? I didn't read the post. I'm just trying to say, because I know for myself, I have been guilty of not necessarily hyping things, but speaking recklessly on the internet. And I realized as a thought leader, I had to pull that back a little bit. And I'm still not like curtailing myself all the time, but sometimes I'll go on emotional rants or I'll push for things that I believe in. And I realize like my responsibility is to guide and to lead and not to force. And I think maybe he's realizing that he has a little bit more responsibility in being responsible to the consumer and teaching them how to consume and walk through this in a healthier manner.
I would agree that could be a thing, but I believe he knew these issues last year. Like, I believe people know what they're doing is not correct, but they know that they'll get additional clout for correcting themselves. Right? Like even Joyner knew flying out the window and calling out Machine Gun Kelly was going to get him clout, but that he also knew that by apologizing, he could then double down and be seen as the bigger man because now he's experienced growth. Like they know these things they know how to play the internet. They know how to play fans. They know how to play artists. To me, if that is truly what happened, then I'll be like, okay, I'll dial back. That's growth. But if they knew what they were saying was wrong and they were just playing this game, to me, that's ridiculous. And I think it's the latter. To me, I think it's the latter. I just see this stuff on the internet. We know we've had too much experience online just to know how things play out. You know, people do stuff all the time, knowing that they're going to get that second wave of attention and be seen as the bigger man just by apologizing.
I think potentially the issue with Joyner is that he has such a huge track record for it. It's like, and then his feedback loop is so quick. It's like, you know, when Joyner says something reckless, within a week, it's going to be corrected, right? So it's like, when people say Joyner, I want to mute him because it's like, okay, like it's.
Or he's about to drop a video.
Right. But I'm saying it's like, he's either like, it's within a week, like he's within a week, something different. Like there's like, shitstorm, Joyner Lucas is like sanctimonious or redeemed or puts out a song or drops a collab or announces whatever. So like for him, it's super corny to me. This is no disrespect to Joyner. I just think he needs therapy. And I'm confused why fans still follow him on social media, but I do know there's a market for that. With this guy, I feel like he's facing a lot of possibly what I'm experiencing right now, where it's like he got in early, he was excited, he thought the problems were going to work themselves out. I'm not saying this is me just yet. I'm going to make a point. He thought the problems were going to work itself out. He's pushing. Then he hits a wall because he's hitting the same issues that everybody else is, whereas he probably wasn't because he was an early adapter. He's one of the crypto bros. Everybody's probably broing him up and giving him whatever he wants. And now he's running into the same issues, like you said, that we've been talking about. Even for me, it's like all these NFT companies like have been heavily pitching me and my team, like heavily, like we're the future and we know you guys are too, let's combine. And so then we're like, okay, cool. This is what we have coming up in 2 months. We want to integrate what you have into that. We want to launch an NFT for our festival, whatever. And they're like, oh, well, this and this and this feature isn't launched yet. So that's not quite possible just yet. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's do this and this. And they're like, well, the utility for fans right now. So we would love to come and set up and just promote this. And I'm like, no. You're not going to promote something. This is like people, it's almost like somebody heard their friend discovered gold and is telling everybody, yo, gold, it's going crazy. And they're getting this tiny finder's fee for telling people that they've never seen gold, and to me, the only person that I've ever talked to about this, and this is no disrespect to all the people who think they're doing a good job explaining it, but Latasha's the only one. And I know with you, Dame, you have questions even still, but she's the only person who has been able to explain it to me, who's living in the reality and actually making money, but says, hey, I understand that there's flaws in this and everybody won't have the same access as me, but we're working to make it bigger. Nobody else has said it like that, right? So for me now, coming to these companies, I'm like, I have real world opportunities for y'all. If y'all say y'all are the next thing, I'm now. Let's do something now, right? And I'm telling you, like, it's multiple companies right now that are like scrambling. Like, we spent money with one recently and they're like, oh, well, we're about to raise our next round of funding. And we just all had to shift focus on that. And something that I will say that it has been evident for a long time is that the tech world does not know how to handle humans, period. They don't, right? And so that's why they need people like me and you and the music industry to translate to humanity, because they're just thinking about output. They're thinking about what's next, how can we make this optimized? And right now I'm seeing that's what's exactly happening in the world. The human part is disconnecting. And it's like your technology does not matter until you can get the human aspect right. And so I believe that there's a lot of work to be done in the space. I'm not shitting on it. I see that there's potential and utility, but like you're saying, is that these people got to get it right and you got to care more. And you got to work with people who understand what artists and fans, you got to work with the people who actually do the business that you're trying to help, Spotify didn't work until they started working with creators and started working with people who were teaching them how this tech was going to work for them, So I don't know. I do get that it's frustrating. I want to give the dude the benefit of the doubt, but I think it's a shit show right now because people forgot that humans are required to make A go to B. It doesn't matter what your tech does. If humans aren't there, it's not going to matter.
Well, I hope that what you're saying is true. I've just seen too many of his tweets over the past year and a half because I follow him because I want to check in with what's happening, right? Like I'm open to the possibility that I'm wrong. Like I actually want to be wrong. I want NFTs to be the savior of the music industry and I want more artists to win. With my experience, I just don't see how that works, right? For a large amount of artists. So I hope that you're right. Maybe he even joined us on a podcast because I just don't see it. I've just seen too many of his tweets. And I just don't see like that quick pivot. But I hope you're right. I hope that it's genuine. And I hope he takes a more measured approach to how he speaks about things in that space going forward.
Well, to play Dame's advocate, I'll say this. If he's the one that, in fact, compiled and wrote that list, it's a pretty sophisticated list. It's a pretty insightful list. It's not surface level analysis. So
but that's what makes me think he could have wrote this a year ago.
That's my point. No, that's my point. If you're thinking in terms of that level of depth, it's something you've been considering for a while, and it's something you've been aware of for a while, probably, unless you stuck your finger in an outlet accidentally when plugging your phone in, and it just changed your brain chemistry suddenly, and you were hit with this crypto epiphany. I don't know, but you know what, Dame? Here, I might rant about NFTs next week, and it'll be about a different topic. But overall, I still think NFTs and all that can be and will be a net positive for creatives, but it's just like anything. It's like social media. How many scams are happening on social media? How many times do we talk about KE? But advertising on YouTube is still a net positive. I'm still going to encourage people to do that.
For sure. No, I think we've always said that it will be a net positive. How big the net is what we're, I guess, debating, or what's to be determined. So anyway, we can move on. I definitely didn't want to talk about NFTs. I probably shouldn't even have looked at Twitter this morning, but I was like, come on, man. Like, I just see this too often where people get to play both sides of the fence and benefit greatly from doing it. And I'm just like, are people not seeing this? Did people just not know that this not, and now I'm not, I'm just speaking more in general terms of like, did people not see the tweets from a year ago where he or she was just completely wrong, like forever, and then one tweet and then they get more clout? I don't.
I hope that doesn't become a thing. The whole do some asshole shit, apologize, get praise, repeat.
It's been a thing. What are you talking about?
It's a thing. Abusive men since the beginning of time have made it a thing, but the internet exacerbated it. It's a
for
thing.
sure.
Okay. All right, Erin. Yeah, you're right.
You can do some crazy stuff and then apologize and come out better for it.
I think it really depends on the community too. And so that unfortunately says something about fans. I mean, I don't know. Fans, you know what? I take back what I said. Fans are giving passes for everything. There are artists who, I'm, for example, run up the dislikes now, but working in a space of Black art, fans will excuse white artists for existing in that space and saying racist stuff. I mean, John Mayer, remember that?
I don't actually.
Well, I don't want to get into it. It was
Morgan Wallen. Remember that? That's not even in a Black space. Like, what? And to be honest, Black and white artists, if Robert Kelly did a concert today, it wouldn't be empty. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought about that earlier today. It wouldn't be empty. I'm not saying it'd be sold out, but it wouldn't be empty. There's still people like, you know what I'm saying, that would buy tickets to his show.
Oh, well, even the slap heard around the world, I believe, is going to be a net positive for Will at the end of the day. Like, all of these negative things, people flying out the window, can eventually turn into a net positive just by saying sorry, whether you mean it or not. So knowing that, you can make the plans to do it. Sometimes it's genuine and sometimes it's orchestrated.
Yeah. And I do see people who are selective about their forgiveness. You know, one artist will do something terrible. Another artist will do something either equally terrible or less terrible, and they'll forgive one but not the other. And they'll just say, yeah, I can separate the art from the artist in this particular case. And it's like, why can you do that here but not there?
Well, they're making calculated decisions. Like Vlad said some out-of-pocket stuff about Farrakhan, and, Godfrey and Lord Jamar wanted him to apologize. And he basically was like, well, it's not affecting my platform. I'm still making money. So why would I apologize? It's like,
so and he was dead wrong. I mean, it was verifiably wrong in what he did.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was with Dame and Royce the 5'9" on this one, as I generally tend to be, but
Yeah. So
I didn't hear about it, but I try to stay away from that dude in general.
Yeah, you were thinking ahead. You were already in the future, Erin.
Honestly, I miss so much stuff because I don't spend a ton of time I'm on the internet, but I don't spend a ton of time on socials like investigating. I was at a concert when the Oscars were on, and so I didn't find out anything because I wasn't even on Twitter. I didn't find out anything until my team meeting on Monday, and everybody was like, yeah. I'm like, what? I was so confused. I couldn't tell if they were joking. We stopped the team meeting and they played the video for me, and I was like, the world is just a strange place. I have no takes on that I'm going to say publicly, but the world is a strange place.
Even when I saw the video, I didn't think it was real. I'm still not 100% convinced, to be honest with you. I don't know.
But that's what sucks about today. Like, you could never be. I mean, I believe that it was real, but you always have to, reserve at least a percentage. Maybe it's not, because there's so many people playing games with audiences, with fans and artists, like we've been talking about. There's so many people that just know how to play the internet.
I wonder I just don't feel like Will Smith has anything to gain from anything like that, though. So,
I agree. I agree. I believe it's real. My friends that are in the acting community tell me it's real, so I don't really care. But So I'll take it as it was real. Anyway, my bad for taking up so much time. Let's get into your guys' topics.
Well, I tweeted recently. Maybe this is one of those tweets that I take back and everyone forgives me, and I have this moment of tearful redemption, and my clout goes up. Hopefully, but I wanted everyone's, Erin and Dame. I wanted your take on this. So I tweeted about not taking breaks in the music business. Obviously, the term break was the issue, and it means something different to everybody. And a tweet is a very small and short form statement. And I can't really explain every individual scenario and variation thereof. But for me, I upload a beat every day. I haven't taken a break from that in probably 2 years. And even if I travel, even if I go on vacation, even if I know that I'm overwhelmed and can't do it, I plan ahead. I plan around it, and I schedule my uploads in advance. So from the outside looking in, I'm not taking breaks. I'm still dropping a new beat every single day. And because it's my real career, I have to plan around it. I can't just, if I have a traditional job in any other field, I can't just say, you know what? I just don't feel like doing shit this month, so let me just disappear. No, you've got to plan around that. You have to talk to your coworkers. You have to talk to your supervisors if you have one. You have to speak to your customers. You have to make sure everything's running smoothly. That's my explanation of my tweet. And I got two types of, I would say, dissenting replies. One was saying, well, that's a toxic way to think. And I understand that if you're interpreting my tweet as saying never take a break, grind until you're dead, sleep is you can sleep when you're dead. I'm not saying that. I'm not team no sleep. I love sleep. I love drinking water and exercising. But we can use some common sense here and say, again, even in a traditional job, having a weekend off is typical. That's not a break from work. So people are like, well, you can take a couple of days off here and there. Of course you can. Of course you can. Personal time off isn't a break. The reality is, though, when you're working for yourself, no one is going to keep you on a schedule. Nobody is holding you accountable other than you, period. And that scenario, that dynamic is not for everybody. So either you can hold yourself accountable, you can learn to hold yourself accountable, or you're in trouble and maybe you shouldn't put yourself in that position. And there's nothing wrong with it. You just can't have it both ways. And I'm sorry to say that, you just can't. I think a lot of people think they can. A lot of people think music careers are the exception to the rule, and it's this wonderland where everything magically falls into place without planning and without some of these elements of traditional employment. But I'm here to say, sorry, it's not. You still need to be on a schedule. You still need to have a degree of accountability, a high degree of accountability, a higher even. Because when you show up to work, someone tells you, here's what you do, A, B, C, D, step by step. When you wake up in the morning, you don't know what the hell to do because no one's telling you. You got to self-direct. So I guess some people think I'm toxic enough to suggest sacrificing your mental health to stay on the music grind. And that's not helpful. I think as long as you have a plan that works for you, just be consistent with the plan and you'll be fine. But what the negative part of what I'm saying is, you'll find that if you take a month or two off from social media, you stop touring for a year, you don't put an album out for a couple years, and you're at that point where you're just starting to build momentum, all of that is gone. You'll find that all of your momentum is gone. Also, what makes me sad was the other type of negative response I was getting from people was people saying they're burned out, and how someone actually said, lately I've been dying inside. I need to take a break from music. And I feel like that's deeper than music, because music has saved my life. And I'm not saying that in a figurative, metaphorical way. I'm not going to go beyond that, but it has saved my life. I made music back when I was working 3 jobs. I love it that much. So the fact that it's my job means I love my job. I don't dread doing it. So I think if a person is miserable while making music, I'm not going to say I can't relate to that. That's crazy. If you're miserable while building your music career, I think there's something more serious going on, because misery isn't healthy, period. So refer back to Erin's shirt maybe, or really, figure that out, because you shouldn't feel miserable. And I think that's cause for concern when I see that causes me to feel, even to a total stranger, I feel a sense of sorrow for the person. I feel sad for them, because this should be the music part, and the building of the career. That should be the fun part. But yeah, I mean, take time off if you need to plan around it, though. Don't disappear. We're not at the point where we can afford to go on these long hiatuses and then come back and think everything's going to be the same. It's not going to be the same.
Or if you take a hiatus, like, have a plan, like, know that you're going to pivot. And this is like, yes, mental stuff happens, especially like towards the end of last year, I was struggling bad and just trying to figure it out. So this is not to be like, create a plan for when you're depressed. That's not that. But I agree. It's like, if you do music regularly or anything regularly, you should have rest as a part of your regimen. Like, that's how you sustain. So one, they're like going way left field, but two, I agree with you. Our new shirts, we're getting them designed right now. On the back, they say you can't build your own dreams without protecting your mental health. Cause it's like, yeah, like, why would you grind if your mind isn't right? So I think people just have to, I don't know. It's like the internet, it just wants to be full of hot takes. That's all I think it is. I just try not to pay those people any mind. Cause it's like, this is, like the Bible says, he that has an ear, let him hear. This is like, it's not for you if you don't get it, right? Like, if you get it, when you see me say this, you understand. But the fact that you have to explain yourself on so much stuff, Payne, this doesn't make sense. I think people are purposely dense.
But I mean, this is where education comes in once again, right? Like, you have to understand the impact of you taking a break. I agree that you're going to need breaks. I think you need to prepare for these breaks. Right? Are you stacking content? Payne, I'm sure you don't make a beat every day, right? Like, I'm sure you go on spurts where you make a few in a day, or you might stack up because you're headed out of town. But okay, I know I'm going out of town in July for a week. Let me stack up on some beats so that I can still make a post a day.
Well, that's important too, because, when you're at the point where, I might have a day where I make my beat. Right. I'm like, great, I was productive, but I have 3 more hours where I can choose to make another beat, or I can choose to make a video or something that I don't need to release tomorrow. I don't know when I need to release it. So when I end up, like when I went to Mexico for a week, I had enough beats. I had more than enough beats and more than enough content stacked up, so I could just schedule it out for that whole week. And even beyond that, because I'm like, when I get home from this trip, I don't know if I'm going to be tired and exhausted. I don't know if I'm going to have to play catch up. I'm still playing catch up. I'm not going to lie, but I planned around it to the point where I come back and I'm not stressed out about playing catch up. I'm not stressed out about not having a presence, and I lost 0 momentum as a result.
Right. So education and knowing like what does happen when you break your cadence on social media. Like, there is a loss of momentum. That's just the reality. If you need to take a break is more serious than that, you understand the impact, then take a break. You have to protect your mental health, at the end of the day. But I just want people to understand what does happen when you lose that momentum if you don't have an existing community. Again, going back to community, that is kind of like your safety net, because people that do have an established community can kind of move how they want, right? Or they can just let their fans know because they own the emails, they own the text messages, and they own the phone numbers, and they have people on social media that can say, hey, I'm going on a break because X, Y, Z. I'll see y'all next month. And next month, your fans will be there again because you've established that community, that communication, and you have ways to get to them outside of social media. So that's another thing that going back to community is just super important. But this is not a normal career path. like you're going to be opening yourself up to criticism that you've never experienced before. Even me as an artist, just having a more visible face than I wanted to have anywhere. Like I didn't even want to be in entertainment, but, you know, ended up starting a record label. I ended up getting a ridiculous amount of criticism when the record label crashed and burned. And now even just doing the MEC, like I see some of the comments, I'll go under the comments, you know, of our podcast. Most of them are positive, but every once in a while I see something that's a little out of pocket. That was not normal for us growing up. Like, so to just receive this level of attention or criticism, you know, you have to take a break from it sometime or just figure out how to process it that makes sense. I don't even know if I have the answers for that. I've never talked to a therapist about it. I probably haven't dealt with it the right way at times, but it's not normal. So you need a plan for these things, and you definitely want to protect your mental health. But if you're going to take a break, stack up content so that the algorithm doesn't slap you when it sees that you're not posting like you were before. So I don't know if we have any more follow-up comments to that, or should we just move to Erin's topic?
I vote Erin.
I don't know if the silence was like, we've never been silent that long.
I'm going to edit that
guys. No, don't edit that out. Keep it rocking. It wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't have anything else to say. And then I was processing the thoughts about therapy. And I'm like, yes, this shit is weird. Like, you know, I've been thinking about that a lot. Like people aren't meant to be propped up and this important and this big. It's like we weren't designed for that. I've been thinking about that a lot. And I just saw a tweet about that. Like humans weren't like designed to be like worshiped and adored by the masses. And it's, or
taken down. Yeah. Or taken down by the masses.
And it's creating this whole, you know, like you would have world leaders, right? Like big, huge people, but typically everyday people don't live this existence. And so I don't know. I listened to a study on NPR about it like 2 or 3 years ago about how our prefrontal cortex is affected by like the serotonin pop. Most people would, the most people would ever experience is if they're like a Friday Night Lights type athlete. And once a week, you would get this like affirmation, I'm the greatest, because everybody, even if you weren't the quarterback, everybody is cheering for you on the field. And then maybe a little bit in the hallway, you get some love, whatever. But now it's like a whole high school of teenagers can get the same type of affirmation and praise. Affirmation, it's not real affirmation and praise from the internet. And then they begin to crave it. So it's creating an addiction culture. You know, it's like, and then they crave the attention, whether it's positive or negative. So I'm grateful that I didn't grow up on the internet. The internet was introduced when I was in like 8th or 9th grade, like social media, not the internet, but social media. And I just was never super into it. Even when I was younger, my friends were like, why do you have a digital camera if you're not going to post on Facebook? I'm like, these pictures aren't for fucking randos that I don't know on the internet. They're for me. Like, I couldn't believe, I will never forget that question. I asked for a digital camera for Christmas and my friends were like, you don't even have Facebook. And I was like, what? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's a really interesting thought. I think people need to be careful about how much they take that in. But that was not my point. That's why it got silent for me. I was just like, I went off into like thinking about that. Okay, so my topic is simple. And I feel like we all have our own kind of things that we are like about. So there's this tweet by Andre Marriott. I don't know who this is. I think he's a producer.
Yeah, he's dope. Yeah.
Wow, okay, I see. I'm looking now. Oh, okay, I see. Wow. I just saw the tweet, probably because I follow Payne, so I get the topics in my thing. And he said, as an artist / producer, you're technically in the service industry. Those that treat it as such go the farthest. And I just want to echo his sentiments. I think a lot of times artists feel like they're artists And because they're artists, people need to come and partake in their art. But the truth of the matter is, if there doesn't need to be any more music made ever, right? If we just went back and listened to all this stuff that has ever been put out, 70,000 songs or whatever on Spotify every day. If we went back and listened to all those, I'm sure we'd find the future of music, the past, everything, right? So it's not really about the art. And it is. I'm not trying to take away from artists. I'm pro art and pro artist, but it's really about the service that you're providing. This is the thing, art versus commerce. If you are trying to become a commercial entity or make money from it, you have to be servicing a need. You have to be fixing a problem, right? If you are not servicing the need, then what are you doing? And a lot of times artists feel like this is the best music ever. Music sometimes can service the need, but the artist itself is a lot of times the artist is serving the need. And I think people need to start thinking that way. If you think of your art as serving a need and you as a brand serving a need, you'll always go further. That's what this is. Like, we all make money, not from this, right? Like, we all are outside of this, but we come here to serve a need because it expands our money, and not solely because of money, because we are genuinely interested in educating the current and next generation of music moguls and entrepreneurs. But it's like everything has to feed into the purpose and intent. And I think a lot of times, not most of the time, artists are looking for people to service them, give to them, buy from them, pay for this, come to my concerts, do this thing. And it's like, it's all facing you. How about you open your hands and face the other way, right? If you start serving people, you'll never run out of opportunities. And I know that for myself. I'm like, I say no to shit all day, every day, because I can't handle it. And sometimes it's money, sometimes it's resources, sometimes it's just the opportunity to speak again. And I'm like, I can't, but I'm consistently servicing needs. So I'm always in demand. And when artists understand that they can do the same thing, producers, I think it's an easier framework because you're like, I'm providing the service of a beat. Therefore, so even him saying this, I think producers can grasp it. I think artists are like, oh yeah, I'm providing the service of the song. No, nobody needs your song. Nobody cares about your song. What are you serving to your fan base, to your community that people are pulling from? Like LaRussell. LaRussell is servicing his fan base, but also the greater artist community in his area. He's teaching how he's doing it. He's doing it and then showing it, right? And then he's also offering other opportunities that most artists don't offer to their fans. So I just want to encourage people, like, if you lead with service, you'll always, always, always be in demand. And if your heart is in that position, and not just like, well, let me see what I can do to get people to want to work with me, let me serve. Like, no, if your heart posture is in the right place, you're always going to win. It may take a little bit longer because people may take advantage, whatever, but you're going to win if you lead with service. So I super agree with this sentiment. Shout out to Andre Mariette. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry.
I would agree. Do you think, I think there are some artists that the music is like just that amazing though, right? Like they don't necessarily lead with service, but the music just kind of speaks to people. Yeah,
I think like Moonchild is one of those groups for sure. I think there are, but even with that, I think that, like, for instance, Maggie Rogers, I think she's one of those people where her music just speaks. Had Maggie Rogers not collided with Pharrell in her class, she would have never, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's still a catalyst point, right? And I think for her, she was serving an emotional need for herself, and it opened up the world. But to be completely honest, and this is no shot to anybody, I think that a lot of the music that we see and experience today doesn't have that type of intrinsic value, right? It's made for the purpose of, this is popular, or this is hot, or this is fun for me, or this is just an outlet, which there's no problem with that. But she was trying to solve a problem within herself, which is why she was making that song. Like, I listened to her Song Exploder episode, and it even took it further for me. But she was trying to serve herself and heal parts of herself. I think when music comes from a place of that way, I do believe that it has a way bigger purpose. But I think the vast majority of music isn't there. And truth of the matter is, if it's only serving an intrinsic purpose, a lot of times it won't reach the masses. I think I've heard so many incredible songs from friends and family that I know that I'm like, holy shit, this is like life-changing music, but I know it's not ever going to go anywhere, you know? So I'm specifically talking about art versus commerce, or art and commerce, and how they collide, and how the vast majority of our listeners are going to intake this. And this is no disrespect, but the vast majority of people are creating for the purpose of selling or growing. And if you're doing that, you have to really consider, what is the audience or the people group that I'm serving? And if you aren't serving any that is going to ever pay you, you have to be okay with that. And I think, you know, we're the Music Entrepreneur Club. I think a lot of everybody listening is trying to make money off of it.
Yeah, well, I get comments all the time from people when I post content about, you know, building fans and visibility and this and that, branding, that assert the person's intentions of not getting their music to the masses. I make music. Do you hear those statements? I make music for myself. I don't care who likes it. If no one likes it, I'll be happy.
Then why are you on our page?
Thank you. My point is, and I think it's a ridiculous assertion and a really silly statement to make publicly on social media from your brand's page with a link to your SoundCloud or Spotify in the bio. Why go through all that? If you really don't care, make music by yourself, for yourself, and don't release it. And I did have this conversation with someone where I just kept asking questions. I just said, so you're saying you make music for yourself, you don't care who listens to it. And if no one listens to it, you're fine with that. Yep. And then my follow-up question was, why release it to the public then? Because I see that it's on the platforms. And the reply was, well, I think maybe it could help somebody, you know, get through some hard times. And I said, well, you're contradicting yourself. Either you don't make music for people and you don't give a fuck if people hear it, or you think, maybe people are going to hear it, and I have this hope there. It just feels like a defense mechanism, and it's something that's going to hold people back. And I don't want to get too deep into the psychology and criticize people, because I feel bad for a person who's stuck between, who put themselves in this mental prison where it's like, well, I'm too afraid to go all in, because what if I fail? But I also love music so much that I'm going to keep making it and putting it out. But I'm stuck in between those two worlds because I'm not working hard enough to try to get it to people. But I have this defense here, which is to say, well, I don't care if no one listens to it. I'm fine with that. And clearly you're not fine with that. And you're going to end up, you know, regretting not actually trying, because everyone else around you that's trying is actually experiencing things that you wish you could experience. So I going back to mental health, you know,
I don't necessarily think it's contradictory to put it out, but I do agree that he's just, you know, that is kind of a defense or an excuse for failing, right? Like if you don't make it, well, I didn't really care anyway, right? But I don't see it being contradictory to say like, hey, you know, I make music for me, but still put it out, right? I could see why somebody would still put it out. Test the waters, you know, but if you truly don't care about the response to the music, I guess that's okay. But there's no reason to listen to this podcast. So if you have those thoughts, you know, you don't need to, well, still, I get maybe still subscribe to Payne's page because he has more than just this podcast, but yeah. I don't mind you unfollowing the MEC Instagram page. Like, this is the music.
Okay, but we're almost at 50K. So
yeah, don't tell people that.
We hit 50K. We hit 50K yesterday.
Hey,
we made it.
So
I've been watching. I'm like, okay, so don't unfollow us. Just stop watching the videos. I don't want to stay.
No, because if you're following us and not engaging, you're kind of hurting our page. So I want people that aren't engaging with our page to unfollow. I wish people that weren't engaging with my personal page would please unfollow me so I could get my engagement back, because all the Funk Volume fans that are still there,
yeah,
like I wish there was a way to just like force people to unfollow me that weren't really interested in what I had to say, because that my engagement would come back. So yeah, this is the Music Entrepreneur Club. Entrepreneur means make money, like from your business. So if that's not the intention, then no need to tap in. That specifically, I mean, we've said this many times, like this is not, if you make music just because you love to make music, do it until you're blue in the face. I don't care. Like that's not what we do. That's not who we're trying to help. I think Payne, you might have some tutorials on like how to make music, but that's not what I know how to do, not what I'm trying to teach. I don't know how to make music. So that's not my thing.
And maybe this is something I'm going to apologize for later, and with a tear in my eye, explain to everybody that I've grown from that and that I'm terribly and deeply sorry. And, please give me another chance. But I tend to think it's just a lie that we tell ourselves that we don't want music to be received by other humans. I don't know. Even when I say, yeah, I don't even want to deal with people, I'm done dealing with people, like that's a lie too. Come on.
I'm sure there are a few people that really don't care. It's not
following our page.
It's not the majority. It's definitely not the majority.
Well, but then why go out and pay, an $80 a year subscription to a distributor? Why get art made? All of that is so intentional and 100% for other people. If you don't care, then why not just use a free distributor? Or why even, I don't, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me, that I can't reconcile not caring whether or not your music is well received or even listened to with going through multiple steps that are 100% intentional every way to enhance the experience of the other people listening to it.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't see that as two separate things. Like I could definitely see a scenario in which an artist just kind of makes music, but still puts it on DSPs and maybe doesn't even check it. Maybe it pops, maybe it doesn't. Like, but they're not like worried about it. If it pops off, great. Like who wouldn't? Not to say that was their primary goal, but like if it popped up and started getting millions of streams.
I think not worried about it is different than the people who are like, I just don't care. Like we release music through BYOD just for the therapy fund. And we released a lo-fi tape. We put it out. We have so much other stuff going on. I'm not bothered if it doesn't go crazy, and it didn't go crazy. But like, I really wanted to put it out there and I put my voice on it. Cause eventually we want to get into doing like breathing techniques and stuff. So I wasn't tripping. Like, I'm not bothered. However, I do want it to be well received. And if that shit pops off, I'm going to be lit. You know what I'm saying? For two reasons. One, because it helps people, and two, because we're making money. But I think that's completely different than what Payne is saying when people are like, I'm just doing it for myself. Like, I don't care if it's like, yeah, but you paid for album artwork or spent the time to make it. You are like uploading it. It's in your bio. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even have our shit in my bio. I probably should put it in there. That's like, I don't know. I just think it is a defense mechanism, but I'm with you. I think there are some people who are like, I'm just doing it for the art. So just be artistic, Like I have a ukulele. That's just for me, mm-hmm. and I'm super cool with that. Y'all see, I got a telescope. That shit is just for me. Like there's certain things that I don't even put on the internet. That's just for me. If that's really true, then don't put, you know what I'm saying? Like when you put it on the internet, it's like, is it really just for you? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Erin always finds a way to make what I say sound more concise and clearer, and then also less Payne-like, which is...
That's not true, but okay.
Well, I make statements just for me. They're not for Erin. All right, another awkward pause.
Another awkward silence.
Let's close this out. What's happening to us? We need to take our vitamins. I haven't taken mine yet. I was up late uploading my content and planning my content strategy. So that's my excuse. But I make this content just for me, so I don't care. Anyway, well, stay tuned next week for another NFT rant. And until then, we'll be live Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.beatstars.live. All our sessions are free. Dame let them know how to get alerted every time we do go live in case they need that extra reminder straight to their phone.
In case you need a reminder, a text reminder before we go live every single Monday and Thursday, just text 844-206, text MEC to 844-206-7800, and you'll get a alert right before we go live. Make it super easy, super simple. Tap in. We got some dope sessions coming up. So hopefully you tap in if you're worried about building a business from your music.
We appreciate you tuning in, and we also want to apologize to all of the people we have offended. Over time, we've grown from it, and we hope that you can embrace the changes that we've made. Till next time, peace.